Hi, 8th grade. Today's lesson is 2-2 adding integers. This is something we did last year, so it should be kind of review for you. I'm going to talk about the same 3 ways that I talked about last year. So some of you are maybe confused on some of those ways, so this is the time to figure it out. It's the time to ask questions if you didn't have a chance to ask a question last year. So the first definition I have for you is additive inverse property. And this is when you add two numbers together and it's opposite. So a number and its opposite, and it's always 0. So last year we talked about opposites, and opposites are a number, like a whole number, and its opposite would be like a -9. Or a whole number and its opposite would be 10 and -10. A whole number and its opposite would be 30 and -30. So anytime you add a number and its opposite, the answer is always going to be 0. It's just one of the properties that we talk about when we are adding and subtracting integers. Okay, so 3 ways last year I talked about to add integers was a number line, were tiles, and cats and dogs. Now, if you remember, an integer is a positive and a negative whole number. So today you're adding positive and negative whole numbers. There'll be no decimals. There'll be no fractions. So just positive and negative. I'm going to talk about all 3 of these. You decide again which one you like better. Some of you might know how to do this already, but it's just a good idea to refresh your memory. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a number line. So when I talk about a number line, you have to know a few things. First, you have to know these 2 things right here. Adding a positive means you're going to move to the right. Adding a negative means you're going to move to the left on the number line. I'm not fond of this method because not many people have a number line just in their pocket. Yeah, I maybe have one in my classroom, but I don't have a number line accessible to me all the time. So if you use this way, it's kind of hard to use in the long run because you don't really have a number line. So, all right, let's just try a practice problem. I'm just going to do what I have on the board here. I have 3 plus -5, so this is how it works. You find the first number on the number line and you plot the point. Okay, and then it says, okay, if I'm adding a 5 and it's a -5, I'm going to go to my rules, and adding a negative, I'm going to move to the left. So I'm going to start at 3, and I'm going to move to the left 5. So it goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wherever I end up, that's my answer. Okay, let's try another one. So up there, oops, let me erase this too. Okay. So then I have -1 plus 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find -1 on my number line, and I'm going to plot the point. And then if I'm adding 3, and it's a positive 3, I know that adding a positive is moving to the right. So I'm going to start at -1, and I'm going to go to the right 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Wherever I end up, that's my answer. So I'm going to do a few more with you on the next page so you can kind of get the drift here. So the first one is 8 plus a -2. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find -8 on my number line. I'm going to plot the point. And it says I'm adding a -2, so that means if I'm adding a negative, I'm going to move to the left. And that's going to be 2 spaces since I'm adding a -2. So 1, 2. I ended up on 6. That's my answer. Okay, the next one I'm going to do is this one right here. So -3 plus 6, I'm going to find -3 on the number line. And if I'm adding a 6 to it, that's a positive. I'm going to move to the right. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My answer is going to be a 3. That is the number line method. My next method is called tiles. And a few things, we did this on our desk last year. You actually got to use tiles on your desk. A few things you need to know for tiles are: red are negative numbers, yellows are positive numbers, and 0 pair, this is another really important vocab word, so please get that down in your notebook. A red or a 0 pair is a red and a yellow tile together. If you remember back to the first slide, we talked about a number and its opposites canceling out. This represents a number and its opposite canceling out, because this would be like a positive one and this would be a negative one. So these represent a canceling out situation. All right, so this is how it's going to work. So I'm going to start with my tiles, and it says 5 plus -3. So I'm going to put 5 tiles on my desk. 1. Oh, 5 yellow, my bad. 1, 2. Come on. Oh, okay, where'd you go? 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm going to add 3 red tiles to this. 1, 2, 3. And if I look at these, I have some zero pairs, things that are going to cancel. These are going to cancel. These are going to cancel. These are going to cancel. So whatever I have left that does not cancel is my answer. Now my answer is going to be 2, and it's going to be a positive 2 because I have yellows left over. So whatever color you have left over, that's going to determine what sign your answer is going to be. Let's do a few more of these. Okay, so we'll start with this one first. I have 4 plus negative 5, so I'm going to start with 4 yellows because they're positive. And I'm going to add 5 negative tiles to my desk. Okay, and I have some zero pairs that can match up. And I only have this left over, so it'd be a negative 1 because I have 1 tile and it's red. Okay, I'm going to do one more of these. Okay, and I'm going to do this one right here. Oops. This one right here. So I have 2 red tiles I'm going to start with. Then I'm going to add 3 more red tiles. Notice I do not have any yellow tiles to make zero pairs. So if I can't cancel anything out, whatever I have left on my desk is my answer. So I have 5, and since they're red, it's a negative 5. My next thing I'm going to talk about is cats and dogs. This is another way. Actually, this is like doing tiles, but it's in your head. Some of you maybe didn't understand this last year. Think about cats and dogs and think about them being your tiles. So now, for example, your cats are like the negative, so in other words, they're like the red. Okay, dogs are positive, so they're like the yellow. So this is like doing tiles in your head. Now, for example, let's just do a problem. Let's do negative 1 plus 2. Okay, so this is like if I have 1 negative, that's like having a cat. If I have 2 positives, that's like having 2 dogs. Now remember, we talked about what cats and dogs and how they don't like each other. Cats and dogs don't like each other. So this is how cats and dogs works. A cat and a dog acts as a zero pair. It cancels each other out. So if I look here, this cat and this dog are going to cancel each other out as a zero pair. What I have left in my problem is my answer. So I have 1 dog, and dogs are positive, so positive 1 would be the answer. Now I can tell by just looking at a problem how many zero pairs there are. If I look, first of all, I'm just going to look at my numbers, not my negatives. I have a 1 and I have a 2. Well, whatever number is smaller, that's how many zero pairs I can make. So in this case, I knew since a 1 and a 2, there's a 1 in this problem, I can make 1 zero pair. That's how I know exactly how many zero pairs I can make. Then I can figure out what I have left over. Let's try a few more. Get rid of this. Let's try another one. So if I do negative 4 plus 7, and if I do 5 plus negative 3. Okay, so let's think about it. I'm going to start with this one. Talk about it to yourself. How many cats do you have? How many dogs do you have? Okay. By just looking at these 2 numbers, can I tell how many zero pairs I can make? Look at the 4, look at the 7. What one's smaller? The 4 is. So I know I can make 4 zero pairs. So if I know that I can take 4 dogs out, 4 cats out, I'm going to take 4 dogs out. What do I have left over? Positive 3. Same thing over here. 5 plus negative 3. I have 5 dogs. And I have 3 cats. I know by just looking at 5 and 3, I can make 3 zero pairs. So tell me what I would have left over then. I'd have 2 dogs, which would be a positive 2. The one thing that gets people is if I go like this. Okay, so if I look at this example, I have a negative 3 and a negative 4. That means I have all cats. No zero pairs, nothing's going to cancel, so it would be a negative 7. Why don't you go ahead and pause me right now and you do some of these on your paper and see how well you do using any method that you want to use. Okay, let's get started. So I have negative 15 plus 20 up in the top. Think to yourself, how many cats, how many dogs I have. I know by just looking at it, I can make 15 zero pairs. So I know I'm going to have some positives left over, and my answer is going to be 5. For the next one here, 60 plus negative 5, I have 60 dogs, I have 5 cats. I know I can make 5 0 pairs, so I'm going to have some dogs left over, and I'm going to have 55 dogs left over. Down here, just adding together like normal, 48. The answer up here would be negative 27. Then I have negative 2 and 12. The last two things I need to talk about is if they put a few more than two numbers together when they add. If I were you, I would find things that can go well together or just go from left to right. Might be a good idea to just do these first and get a 2. Then add negative 3 in, get a negative 1. And then bring down my 9, which would be 8. Going from left to right works really well. Or if you find some things that can go well together, that would be a good idea too. So here's an example of things that can go well together. Just a second. If you have this. Okay, if I look here, this goes well together. That gives me 10. Then look what I have. This will cancel, and I have 5 left. So finding easy things is a really, really good idea. Okay, why don't you go ahead and try a few of these? Let's see, I would probably, if I had to do these, I would probably do this one first because they're very close to all canceling out here. I have 2 left, and then plus 18 would be 20. Over here, I'd probably do this first and get a negative 67 and add 9 to it. And let's see, get 50, negative 58. The last thing I need to show are some story problems. This is a bank account, has $50 in it. What is the balance after the debit card was used for $33 and $41? Honestly, this is what most of us would do. We would take 50 and we minus 33, and then we get an answer, and then we minus 41. There's actually a more simple way to do this. And to do it, you would just do 50 plus a negative 33 because you used it, so that's a vocabulary or a keyword for negative. And then if it was used again for negative $41, you could really just technically make it into addition problem and solve it that way. But honestly, if you had seen this problem somewhere, you would have taken 50. You would have taken 50, and you would have subtracted 33, and then you would have subtracted 41 again. So I hope I answered all your questions. If you have some, seriously, highlight them in your notebook. Have me clarify in class. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. I hope you took good notes, and I'll see you tomorrow.